the front of the shop. 3 packages wrapped in brown paper awaiting delivery. One was a new riding habit with a protective cast. The second, a pelisse for an old woman with a good health charm. And the third, a pleated calico jacket. A plain, simple calico. No magic, no spells. Just my own beautiful draping and my assistant Alice's neat stitching. Sometimes I wished I had earned my prominence as a dressmaker on that draping and stitching alone, but I knew my popularity had far more to do with my charms, the fact that they had a reputation for working, and my distinction as the only couture charmcaster in Galitha City. Though there were other charmcasters in the city, the way that I stitched charms into fashionable clothing made the foreign practice palatable to the city's elite. The other casters, all hailing from the far-off island nation of Pelia by either birth or, like me, ancestry, etched charms into clay tablets and infused sachets of herbs with good luck or health. But I was the only charmcaster in the city, the only one I knew of at all, who translated charms into lines of functional stitching and decorative embroidery. Even among charmcasters I was different, selling to Galatines and the Galatine elite, who didn't frequent the Pelian market or any other Pelian businesses. I had managed to infuse the practice with enough cachet and intrigue that the wealthy could forget it was a bumpkin superstition from a backwater nation. Long before I owned my shop, I had attempted charming and selling simple thread buttons on the street. Incredibly, Galatines bought them. Maybe it was the lack of pungent herb scents and ugly clay pendants that marked Pelian charms. Or maybe it was the appeal of wearing a charm no one could see. Maybe it was merely novelty. In either case, I had made the valuable discovery that, with some modifications, Galatines would buy charms. When I finally landed a permanent assistant's job in a small atelier with a clientele of merchants' wives and lesser nobility, I wheedled a few into trying a charm, and when the charms worked, I swiftly gathered a cult following of women seeking my particular skill. After a couple of years, I had enough clients that I was able to prove myself and open my own shop. Galatines were neither particularly superstitious nor religious, but the novelty of a charm stitched into their finery captivated their interest, and I, in turn, had a market for my work. "When you finish the hem, start the trim for Madame Pliny's court gown," I told Penny. The commission wasn't due until spring, but the elaborate court gowns required so much work that I was starting early. It was our first court gown commission, a sign, I hoped, that we were establishing a reputation for the quality of our work as well as for the charms. "And I'm late to go file for the licence already. The Lord of Coin's offices have been open for an hour." "The line is going to be awful," Alice said from the workroom. "Can't you go tomorrow?" "I don't want to put it off," I answered. The process was never sure. If I didn't get through the line today, or if I was missing something the clerk demanded, I wanted several days to make it up. "Fair enough," Alice answered. "Wait, 2 messages came while you were with Mr. Burson. Did you want—" "Yes, quickly." I tore open the 2 notes. One was an invoice for 2 bolts of linen I had bought. I set it aside. And the other— "Damn," I muttered. A cancelled order. Mrs. Penneray, a merchant's wife, had ordered an elaborate dinner gown that would, single-handedly, pay a week's wages for both of my assistants. We hadn't begun it yet, and so, per my own contract, I would have to agree to cancel it. I glanced at our order board. We were still busy enough, but this was a major blow. Most of the orders on our slate were small charmed pieces, kerchiefs, caps. Even with my upcharge for charms, they didn't profit us nearly as much as a gown. Early winter usually meant a lull in business, but this year was going to be worse than usual. "Anything amiss?" Penny's brow wrinkled in concern, and I realised that I was fretting the paper with my fingers.